So, you know, when I made the first video, you know, I had no idea that, you know, atheists would get triggered so much. I mean, I thought they were stronger than religious people or feminists or something, because I'm noticing that atheists are like just like the religious people. Religious people, they cite everything from their religion. Like, so if they want to give you an answer, they cite it from their religion. So that's why you really can't argue with them long enough, because you know everything is coming from their religion. Half the time they don't even know about their own religion. And I would say atheists are they're like intellectual. They're really smart. They can argue your points, but they don't seem to know what's happening in the current year. They don't seem to know about what's happening in the present. It's like everything that they're saying is coming from sources, like, because, you know, it's like two sides of the same coin. You know, religious get all their answers from their, you know, their books, their religion, their preachers, their imams, whatever. But atheists, you know, they have to think for themselves. So they have to rely on their own intellect or somebody else's intellect. So they have to, because they don't have any faith, they have to rely on their government, which is still faith. You know, agnostic is a person who doesn't have any fact. They don't have no faith in a God, or no faith that there is a God. That's an agnostic, supposedly. And an atheist is a person who doesn't believe in God because he doesn't have evidence. Now, they say they don't have faith, but you have to have faith. You have to have faith and believe that the government will save you. The government will protect you. You have to have faith. You have to have a blind belief that the cops will protect them. Now, the reason why SJWs and black people talk about the cops is because they have a belief that cops are supposed to protect them. So if they don't, then that's when they argue police brutality and racism. So they have a belief that cops will protect them, and when they don't, they get upset. So that's a faith. They have a faith that the cops will protect them. They have a belief that the cops will protect them. They have a belief that the government will protect them. If the government doesn't protect them, they get upset. They have a belief. They have an irrational belief that the government will always protect them. They have an irrational belief that the news is always telling the truth. So, looking through the comments, you know, it was all about you're irrational, rational fear. You know, I made an analogy. I said, I said that snakes, like, the reason why people are afraid of snakes because they will bite you. Is that a rational fear? No, it's not. It's a rational fear. You know that snakes will bite you. You know that they can kill you because ones are poisonous. You say, well, that's irrational to be afraid of all snakes. No, that's intelligence. You know that one of these snakes might be poisonous, and you don't have, and not all circumstances you have time to figure out if one is poisonous or not. So, if there's a forest, or there's a jungle, or there's a country where there's several different species of poisonous snakes, then you know not to go to that country, or go to those woods, or go to that jungle. You say, well, isn't it irrational that you think if I enter this forest, I might get bitten by a snake? Who cares if it's irrational or not? Yeah. All I know is one of these snakes might be poisonous. Matter of fact, it turns out that there's frogs that are poisonous. There's spiders that are poisonous. I mean, you don't know which one is poisonous. So if the forest got poisonous snakes, they probably got poisonous frogs. So, and like, it's like there's a lot of irrational things going on. this thing about cops, this fear of cops. We have all this fear of cops. We have all this fear of white people. We have all this fear of the white supremacy and the patriarchy and all that. When it's the patriarchy that protects us. So because of the patriarchy, we have internet, we have technology. Men invented all this stuff. So, you know, I did not know that the atheists would be triggered that much. I thought, but then I remember a lot of atheists are leftists. You know, they have faith that CNN, MSNBC, and their news is telling them the truth. They have a belief that their government is telling them the truth. They have, so all the crime statistics that they get from Sweden, from their country, they believe it. Without even questioning it, they believe it. And you know why they believe it? It's because they don't want to change. You know, a lot of people don't know, but being religious is a lot of work. You know, because you have actually a true blind faith with stuff, because you don't really know. I'm kind of like in the middle. I believe that there's a creator. I don't know there is, but I believe there's one. I'm not religious, and I'm not no atheist. You know, and enough things happen in my life that I can't explain still. So, and I'm not a person that's out there trying to figure it out. You know, I'm just trying to make my life better. So, I noticed that, you know, like I said, I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, treat people as individuals, don't put them in a group. But I'm only addressing these individuals. I'm not addressing all of them, because in the skeptic community, or a lot of them are atheists, they're not stupid. They know that, you know, religion is a problem. The reason why I brought atheism was the answer to the religion. And somehow these atheists forgot all about that. They have forgot that most of the arguments, the first level of atheism, in the beginning, the arguments were how bad was religion, how bad religion was, and how we need to get rid of it. The second level was they was going to give us the facts. That's when all the scientists came out. So at first it was just Richard Dawkins, you know, and his gang, you know, just talking about religion all day. They were talking about how bad religion was. Now we need to replace it and get rid of it, because it doesn't serve us anymore. I don't really believe that. I just know we need to get rid of all the crap that's in religion, and then we need to just keep the good stuff. So, and what I like about atheism is that they do question stuff. They don't just, you know, hear something from a religious person and just believe it. So on that level, I like atheism because they question things. So when I was arguing with these atheists, they were intellectual. It was intelligent conversation. There wasn't like religious people where they would just spout something from a book and then give you a death threat and be done with it. It's not like arguing with a feminist. They bring up the wage gap and bam, they're done. They don't even want to argue no more. You argue with a pro-black, they bring up white supremacy, and you wouldn't even want to talk to them no more. So it wasn't that. It wasn't, you know, they're going to call you a name, they're going to call you racist, sexist, homophobe, and then they'll just go away. It wasn't that. It was an intellectual, broke it down conversation. So it wasn't no crappy conversation where you argue with SJW. But I would say they're intelligent SJWs, intelligent triggered people, or intelligent oblivious people. So it's not that they're not intelligent. You say educated fool. It's not that they don't have education. They just don't have the right education. So yeah, you can know a lot about one thing and then it doesn't serve you at all. So here's this guy from actual Sweden, and he doesn't know about the no-go zones. He doesn't know about the rapes. He doesn't know that there's like a park what they basically call that the rape part, where you got like a 50% chance of getting raped up the there, and how the government and the police are afraid to give the real statistics because people don't want to look racist, because the country bought into the whole being tolerant, Islamophobia, all that crap. They bought into all that. So the reason why they don't give the ethnicity of the raper is because they don't want to reveal that they were the immigrants that they brought into their country and make their country look bad, make it look unsafe, and it'll make them look intolerant of not all faiths and stuff. So it'll make them look like they made a mistake, because Sweden was like the #1 of the bringing in the immigrants. They was going to be the savior for everybody. Everybody else, Germany and Italy, and I think Greece. Yeah, they're having a lot of problems. It's probably because the immigrants, they didn't really want to go to Sweden because the welfare benefits wasn't that good. They was trying to go to, I think it was the UK or it might have been France. I think they was trying to go to France. They was trying to, wait, no, that wasn't, yeah, they was trying to go to the UK in Germany, because they had the best welfare benefits. So a lot of the terror attacks are happening in those countries, even though that's the countries that they wanted to go. So if they can't get to the country that they want to go to, so because they move them around all the time. They put them in a country, they have them asylum seekers or whatever. They have them staying around, not working, not doing nothing. What do you expect them to do? They're going to riot eventually. And that's what happened in Italy. That's what happened with George Clooney, where he was. You got a bunch of Somalian Syrians walking around, ain't got no job. Most of these guys are 20-year-old men. Ain't got no children, ain't got no wife. What they gonna do? Of course they're gonna rape people. Of course they're gonna rob. Of course they're gonna riot. There's nothing else to do. They don't have a job. So you give them welfare, but that wasn't enough. Men need to work. And it's like they left their country because they wanted the welfare. They were being like a woman. See, a woman can get welfare and be happy with that. A man can't get no welfare and be happy with that. He gotta be working. So I was talking to people and I was thinking, no way these people are men. No way ought to be that oblivious to the problems. And but it's okay. I mean, I guess it's kind of like our country, where you can complain or you can not complain. You can be oblivious. It's okay, because you live in a good community, so you don't really need to know, right? You don't live near the immigrants. You're saying, well, I have Muslim friends. Any Muslim friends terrorists? No. Why not? I was thinking, like, just ask a person, like, okay, do you have any friends, Muslim friends? He said, yeah, I do. Is any of them terrorists? I said, no. Why don't you have friends that are terrorists? It's because, they might kill me. Isn't that a rational fear of terrorists? How do you know that terrorists are going to kill you? You have to figure out, like, it's like, it goes back to what I was saying about the snake. How do you know that snakes will bite you? How do you know that? Only way you can know is snakes have to bite you. How do you know that poisonous snakes kill you? How do you know that they're poisonous? Well, somebody has to die, or an animal has to die. We have to do some type of research to find out, or somebody has to die from a snake bite to find out which ones are poisonous and which ones kill you, and which ones we can treat. So it's the same thing as terrorism. You can't just say, well, we have a few terrorist attacks. We just have to ignore them because, well, they don't happen all the time. So we don't have to focus on them. It don't happen all the time, so we can just lump them in with the other problems. So we just ignore them. But eventually they get bigger and bigger and bigger the more you ignore them. You can't just ignore the snakes that are biting you. They're going to be killing people. Eventually you're going to have to recognize that the snakes are biting people, and you have to caution people. Stay away from these snakes, these kind of snakes. You know. So it's the same reason why you won't have a terrorist Muslim friend. It's because it's totally rational to not want a terrorist friend, because you know that he might harm you. He might want to kill you one day. So it's not irrational. You have a fear. You have a fear that this terrorist friend might kill you or might harm you. So that's why you don't have that friend. So, whatever. I mean, I have realized that if you struck a nerve with certain types of people, it doesn't matter what kind of information you give them, they'll just blow it off. Just like a religious person, where it doesn't matter how much information you give them, they'll just blow it off, and they're not going to leave their religion, because if they leave the religion, then that they're admitting that they made a bad decision. And nobody wants to admit that they made a bad decision, so I get it. So you've been in atheism this long, and you don't want to leave just because somebody gave you some facts or falsehoods or whatever you want to call them. People are not going to leave that fast, man, because you're talking about people, the way they live their life. You're talking about their beliefs. They can argue what they have, they're not beliefs, but their beliefs. They have faith in the government, because if you don't have faith in God, then you have to have faith in something. You have to have a belief, because you don't know for certain that the government is going to protect you, because you don't know that, and you don't even know for certain if you can even protect yourself. Most of the time when people get into situations, you know how women are getting raped in Sweden right now? It's because they're being told that they're as strong as a man. So when they get into a situation where a man is raping them, beforehand they're thinking, okay, I've took these self-defense classes, I can fight this guy off. And then when they finally get into the situation, they can't fight him off, they end up getting raped or killed. So people have this faith or this belief that they can fight off their attacker. They have this belief and faith that the government will protect them. They have this faith and belief that the news is telling the truth. Or at least one of them is, the one that you like. Would it be the leftist or the right-wing media or the independent media? You have to have some type of blind faith, because at some point it's going to be blind. Not because at some point you got to be thinking, okay, man, there's no way this is true. You know, so sometimes you have to kind of write it off. You know, I don't know if that's true. It could be true. You know how much stuff people believe, just like passively, just believe it, because they don't think that they don't need to know. So people have this irrational faith, belief, cops will protect them. They have irrational faith, belief that the government will protect them. Why do you think governments have military and the governments don't protect you all the time? Cops do not protect you all the time. Half the time we can't even protect ourselves. People die every day because we believe and thought that we can protect ourselves. People die every day in murders and rapes, and you know, the husband beat them to death, or they're poisoned about their wife, or they got hit, you know, they're in a car accident or in a terrorist attack. You know, they got bit by a snake and stepped on a squid. People die every day because they believe and have a faith that they can protect themselves in any situation. So you can apply this irrational thing or this fear thing or this fake thing to anything. And this blind faith, just because you don't have a blind faith of a visible God in the sky doesn't mean you don't have a blind faith of a cop. You have a blind faith that this cop will always protect you. That's why you don't learn self-defense. That's why you don't carry no gun. You have the cop carry his gun, You don't have your own gun. You have the cop carry a gun.